So today I'll be reviewing The Man with 1,000 Kids. So yeah. I found this. And the reason why I watched this is simple. This is going to be a bit less because I have more to talk about. The Man with 1,000 Kids. I watched this for sort of like two reasons. Three reasons. One, the name. Two, it was like a free series documentary. And sometimes when you get like these really interesting free, like small series, which goes into the fourth point, this seemed similar to like the Don't Mess with Cats one. I think it was Don't Mess with Cat one. It was one where like the guy did the thing with the cats that was horrible and inhumane and then turned into more bigger problems. And then they tried to stop him doing those like serial unaliving things. But onto this. This was so interesting. Not only did I learn things, see the uncensored version, but you realize how up this guy's head is. I'm not going to go into too much details because one, watch the original, two, to truly just sense how absolutely insane this guy is. I feel like it's just better going in blind. There will be a couple of things that I will be saying, but not his mindset, because no, this is so shocking and so like intense. It is absolutely interesting. So the one thing which I like is, for a lot of these, you have these one-on-one interviews that build up the scenarios with these, like, I think, recreation moments where they recreate it with, I think, some of the people who are being interviewed for, like, both recreation plus a regular interview, which I think I like that style. Sort of a recreation with a couple of moments plus some of the stuff. I also find it interesting that, I'm not going to talk about too much, but the one thing about him, but the one thing I do find interesting is that they don't really show, they show in pictures. They have a lot of photos, like, here's the person. But when they try and, like, recreate, like, certain moments, for all the other people, they recreate them with the current people being who they were in the moment. They just show the back of his head. And I feel like that's intentional, because if you just look at like this, you can't read much, and I like that as the idea of like you don't really read much. And like when I heard, because there was a thing saying like the Netherlands having like, oh, you can't donate your sperm to create to people getting more pregnant. There's like a rule being like, not rule, rules and laws are different, quite different. There's a law saying that like you can only have a certain amount of kids. I didn't know that. And as a person who was one of those persons where, I'm not going to explain my mum and dad's situation behind it and the explanation, that's not for this, but I'm just going to tap in saying that like, I was one of the person who my mum had a sperm donated. That's a thing with me, with like my mum and dad. I won't explain much about that because that's not important. If you want, I don't know. Anyway, but I am that. A donated sperm. I don't know the exact word it is described, but I didn't know that. Like that there's a limit. I know my mum told me that women can only give birth to 2, which also is a thing, which is interesting. And I also get that idea. But I didn't know, like, there was one on males. I should have been like, no. The idea of, like, not having too many is, like, sort of like the things that they describe. Which is absolutely, if he's doing, like they just said, doing it on purpose, it's absolutely up. And, like, at first I'm like, oh, why would that be so bad? And when I went into the series, I learned, because I was like, I didn't really know, like, how bad it could be. And when you learn about how up that could lead. And the one thing which I thought at the time, which I don't think they brought about, but with one person, I don't think it'll cause too much, which is genetic genetic biodiversity, which means there's enough genetics meaning certain diseases. That's why, like, a lot of people say that it's not good to have, like, relationships between brother and sister because you have that genetic biodiversity problem because the parents are too close. You get a thing with, like, certain, like, genes not being great, and, like, you get mutations that could lead to more health problems. If you want more information, see Game of Thrones, where they talk about that in the Game of Thrones by Game Theory. They have a theory on that. It's really interesting. But, like, when they talk about the idea and how, like, 1,000, like, you get all of them having, but, like, that is so fucked. It is so, like, what the, and shocking. And, like, at first they showed, like, oh, it's like a couple, like, every other city. I'm like, okay. And then they showed, like, oh, 5 in the same, like, are you joking? You are insane. This could lead to so many problems of, like, all of this happening. And alongside, like, the way that they put it, the sperm roulette, where they put, like, 2 and then do that. That is so effed up and so... this is so long, but yeah, it is absolutely interesting. And it shows how stupid these two people are. Or more specifically, insane these two people are. Because it is on purpose. They know what they're doing. The fact that they know what they're doing makes it even worse. So yeah. This is really good. It will definitely, like, make you understand how bad and how terrible someone who will do something like this could do to, like, the children or, like, to a bigger scale. It is absolutely, again, genetics. I'm not a scientist or a doctor. I'm not the best person to talk about how the genetics, it truly means. The show describes it perfectly, even for someone like me, who doesn't really know genetics too great. I would say I don't know genetics too great, but I think I got a C in biology, so I at least know a decent amount. So, C in biology is the best I've got. But it's really interesting, really worth watching. Absolutely go and watch it. So yeah, sorry for this being one of the longest reviews for a while. I had a lot to say about this series, but I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed this video. Good night.